Hello. So I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we proceed, no? So what is an MVP? Okay. So that is the question. So basically, an MVP is a minimum form of your product, that is tested on the market. So again, we've been discussing about this that before we launch really a scale, no, daghan murag ka ng full scale nga product, we need to test our product idea first, forming an MVP, no, the minimum viable product. Doesn't necessarily mean that right from the start we will just go directly introduce a product where in we're not yet able to test now if the market really likes it, or if the market or the customers really want it, no, or like it, or something like that, no. So this development strategy allows your team now to validate product assumptions and learn how your target users react and experience your product's core functionality. And this approach will provide insight into properly allocating your budget to satisfy your overall business objectives. So building an MVP is an iterative process designed to identify user pain points and determine the appropriate product functionality to address those needs over time. So meaning to say, having an MVP, so it's the product in itself right now. No, there are so many companies, even if they are big right now, they're not yet even have a finished product. No? So there are some of the examples later on that you will see that this is exactly happening now, so right before our very eyes, because they only launch a MVP. They call this MVP, and later on they validated the idea, and then when they were able to really refine the product, that's the time that they were able to really even scale up, no, their product or services. So iterative process, no? So we go back to, well, kind of check our product and test, learn, no? Test, learn from the test, and then integrate any improvements you can make. So it becomes an iterative process. So in mobile app development, an MVP is a development method where you develop only the core functionalities, not to solve those specific problems and satisfy early adopters. So meaning to say, it's just the functionality. You're not even concerned about how really beautiful and cool the mobile app is. You just want to know that the app is working actually. You know, when you touch a button in the app, that button actually works, no, actually like goes from one position to another, no? So meaning to say, it's just to look into how the functionalities will work around, no, in your mobile application. Okay, so basically an MVP is the basic model of your product that will fulfill the primary goal you want to achieve. So that is the essential part, you know. So those are just the very important part. So um for example, I don't want to go ahead now, but I will see. I will give you an image that we'll discuss this about this later. So again, we go back to the build, measure, learn process where you want to develop a prototype. Measure meaning to say you test it, and then you test it knowing what would be the feedback of your customer or the users, and then learn from those feedbacks. And again, we go back to this iterative process that um, doing further improvements from those feedbacks coming from the customers. Now, this will allow us to release a product that can always be improved, no? And then you always validate our assumptions. Now, because we always, as a designer, we might be thinking that, you know, as a designer of the product, we might be thinking that this is already okay. No? So, but those are assumptions. No? So we tell ourselves that, well, we have a very cool product already, but as a developer, that is our assumptions. Until such time that we get inputs from those users who try to attempt our MVP, then that is the only way that we can always like continually improve, no, our product. Okay. So that means that we capture everything, no, from the customer's perspective. That is from the MVP. So we're talking specifically in the product itself here, no? So the product that we're trying to launch. So, okay, so this is one of the video that would also tell you, no, so the significance of benefits of the MVP. I hope you can hear the video, no? Please tell me if you cannot hear it.
Everyone, today I'll start with this. Every product manager must know what MVP is. This is the first video in our MVP series. Today we'll reveal the true goal and benefit of MVP and review an actual use case about how to create a minimum viable product. In our next videos, we'll discover different types of MVP and disprove several misconceptions associated with minimum viable product. While watching the video, consider subscribing. The concept of creating a minimum viable product prior to a full-scale product originates from the best practices of agile development. The MVP approach stipulates step-by-step product evolution, keeping in mind user feedback. It also corresponds to the philosophy of ship early and repair later, supported by many notable minds, including Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, and Eric Ries, who has first introduced the MVP technique in his Lean startup. A product can be called minimally viable if it has some features to be validated within the market and brings the core value for early adopters. That's what most product managers have in mind under this term. From the consultancy viewpoint, MVP may be treated as a pioneer product version with raw functionality and features. Most of the notable products, including Airbnb and Twitter, started their way as MVPs and have been gradually evolving into trend-setting startups. Meanwhile, newbie entrepreneurs may doubt the necessity and feasibility of this concept and prefer to skip the MVP stage. But that's a risky decision, and your startup may end in disaster. Let's see how MVP can help you to avoid this. Startups need MVP to validate their hypothesis and get the green light for developing a full-fledged product. In other words, you ask target users whether they need your product or not. Though it's functionally constrained and raw in the appearance, MVP is meant to deliver the core value and get feedback to move on. What would have happened if the founders of Uber or Spotify had entered the market without preliminary evaluation of their MVPs? It's more than likely that they would have not even known about their products. But they made the right choice and leveraged the lean startup tactic. Here are the key benefits you get if you start from MVP. First one is the resources optimization. Your idea might be brilliant in your head, but the market may reject it for various reasons, like tough competition or inadequate value proposition and others. As a result, tons of hours and not speaking about funds appear to be spent for unwanted product. The MVP gives you a chance to avoid this scenario and try out your opportunity hypothesis with the actual user. If the market accepts the bare-bone product, the chances of success with the fully functional solution are quite high. If not, you avoid the risk of wasting time and money and get an opportunity to shift focus or fix the value proposition of your startup. The next benefit is the early customer acquisition. MVP is a lean version of a product you're going to release to the market. Though it lacks some top-notch features and advanced functionality, it does provide value to users and hence acquires early adopters. Of course, the main goal of such an immature product release is to gather feedback to validate the value proposition. Nevertheless, it does not prevent you from starting to make up a customer base. The next benefit is the value proposition focus. The last but not the least answer to the question, why is minimum viable product important, is the ultimate emphasis on the value you're going to deliver with your product. The MVP lets you understand different problems your future customers need to solve. You can take advantage of using the value proposition canvas to get a graphical expression of customers' needs versus products offers. Watch our video where we explain how to use value proposition canvas based on the Uber example. There are lots of other benefits worth mentioning. With MVP, startups are capable of creating an appealing bait for investors, checking their product's vision on the market, optimizing resources to be spent on market research, tailoring a product market fit strategy, and so on. Let's have a look at our actual use case, Mail Trap. As a product studio, Railsware has created a number of MVPs for startups. We have also introduced 2 of our own products to the world. Mailtrap is one of them. The MVP is meant to solve some minimum task for a user in the best way. Later on, it allows business owners to check whether it is worth investing funds in developing the product. The idea of Mailtrap was introduced by Railsware CEO. The team of developers needed a tool for testing email notifications without spamming real users. Originally, Mailtrap was a solution meant to help to test and develop products containing databases and email sending functionalities. Once the internal issue was solved, we decided to validate this idea and introduce the MVP. Having only one epic feature, preventing emails from being delivered to the real customers when testing, Mailtrap attracted users with its easy configuration, usability, so you need just a couple of clicks to embed the code in an app, a free version, and a landing page with a humorous flytrap plant. The MVP began to increase the customer base and collect feedback. We also conducted several surveys to understand the feature set and customers would make use of. With that data, we were ready to enter the market and monetize the product. At the same time, we had not abandoned the free subscription plan. It is still available along with the paid options. If you're about to create a new product from scratch, I advise you to watch our video about using Lean Canvas. You will learn how to outline your business model just in 20-30 minutes. Lean Canvas includes 9 core aspects to be considered, including, but not limited to, customer problems, competitors, solutions you might offer, and the unique value proposition of your product. Let's sum up what we have learned about the concept of the minimum viable product. MVP is a pioneer product version with raw functionality and a basic set of features. The goal of the MVP is to validate a hypothesis and deliver the core business value to the target user. This was the first video in Railsware MVP series. Watch it till
All right, so I hope you learned from something from that video, and also just also validate what we also discussed earlier. So let me go back to the PowerPoint slide that we shared earlier. No, so okay, next. All right, so now guys, in terms of in terms of developing also our MVP, we need to also be reminded from the design thinking problem that we have, no, or the design thinking model that we have. We need to look into how our product might be delightful later on, but in terms of really focus on the MVP is the usability, no? The usability part. Okay, usability part. No? So, but the basic foundation is the usefulness. So we always go back, no, to the design thinking, because MVP is a very important aspect of the design thinking approach that we have. So again, I think it has also been mentioned in the video that the goal of the MVP is to develop a working product that provides immediate value quickly while minimizing cost. No? So again, as an inventor, no, we don't want to love our product that very much that you will already be satisfied in one one time development already. No? So meaning to say, we have to really go back, no, to see to it that we go through the process now of testing the hypothesis, learning from it, and then the part of the validation, and then always go back to how we can refine and further improve our product. So that's basically the aim now of building the MVP. And by doing that, again, by doing that, we will be able to really prevent high costs, no, in terms of because what we don't want to do is musugod na tawag baligya sa product. Now again, sugod na tagbaligya sa product, unya daghan pa day kayo problema ang product, and then daghan pa kayo di ay concern ang mga intended customers, no, sa atong product. So that's why it's also important, no, to really identify kinsa gid atong customers atong product. And then because kung mag-launch kag product nga kanang you launch a product that really it's been able, like it's a full scale product already, then costs are entails with that, no, in terms of production, no? So usually sa ato diri, if we have hardware prototypes, pag electronics yan, either we go to Taiwan or we go to Shenzhen, China, in terms of scaling the product, mass producing the product, no? So if we're not able to develop an MVP and then launch it immediately, so daghan na kay tag-order sa nga product tag 1,000 kay binulto man, no, be volume man gid ng product na to sa China ipahimo, then dako na kay kagasto, and yet later on learn that customers will not love it. So it's very important that we will be able not to really first first develop an MVP. So an MVP will also set the stage for future iterations of development and clarify the sequential steps to take in the project. Whether that's changing directions entirely or continuing down your set of development path. So in some instances, an MVP can also be used to showcase business potential and win stakeholder buy-in. No, so when we say stakeholder buy-in, that means that you can have, no, or you can already pitch your idea to any person who will be willing to take risks in terms of investing in your startup idea. Now, so right now, guys, you can even pitch, no? So it's not even a requirement that you'll just pitch kung ang imong product is naana, no? So there are startups that at the stage, no, even in your stage right now, they have this idea already, and if it's really a good idea, then they can start pitching the idea, no, for investment. Okay, if people will love it, then it's okay, no? So that would be very good to implement. For example, if I am a solar installer and I want to like put up my idea is to really implement so to install solar PV systems, no, in Butuan. Like my business would be to go to residential houses and install solar PV panels as my business. So my MVP would be my product would be a service, no, because basically solar panels are already available in the market, diba? So all I have to do is that gather all the materials needed as a businessman and install them house to house, no? So if they are interested. So now I have to validate my idea. So because I'll never know if there are people who are interested or what, no? So that's why we begin conduct surveys now if people are willing to have a install a solar system in their houses. No? So, but with regards to, for example, cost, so you have to validate it because installing solar panels at home is even expensive. No? So, for example, in 1 kilowatt system, you might spend around 100,000 pesos. No? So, now, if I'm a businessman and then I'll go straight ahead, no? So, magpalit ako daghang kay solar panels, no? Kay nalagay interesado diri sa butuan nga magpa-install ani solar. No? So, nalagay ni. So, sigurado gi ko ani, no? So, I'll buy a lot of solar panels. And solar panels are very expensive. Palit kog daghang kay inverter, power inverters. Mo ay mo gamit no to translate from DC to AC. So dagan na kay ko gi-stock nga mga kuan ba, gipang stock nga materials, and then now sige gawas na ko mo na ko kanang front store, and then gasto na ko dako, no, and then later on I'll realize nga wala may ganahan magpa-install og solar because ang isa 1 kilowatt system will be costing at least 100,000 pesos. So, meaning to say, daghan na kay tao gi-invest nga mga materials, and then nobody wants to have a solar PV system installed in their homes, no? Because probably one of the reason would be the cost, no? But then that also we have to be validated, no? So, meaning to say, nganong dili man mo ganahan magpa-install og kanang solar PV system nga maka-reduce man sa inyong kuryente. So, ang una ginana based akong survey sa una, expensive pa kaayo para sa ilaha, no? So for example, 100k system, ang ROI 5 years, no, taas kaayo, no? So dili pa kayo din nila makita ang value, no? So kay they have to pay upfront nga around 100,000 pesos. No, so as a businessman, akong buhaton is dili sa kumupalit og daghan kaayo nga mga inventory of materials, no? So that's what we want to avoid, no? Nga daghan na kay inventory of materials, and then wala day kay negosyo kay nobody is willing to have their houses installed with solar PV systems. So, nagets niyo yung class? I hope that's clear, no? So what we're trying to do there is cost, no? So, kung gusto ka nga nga negosyo po, unya wala kay capital, so meaning to say, you'll pitch your idea nga ako negosyo, katabang ko sa kalibutan because of this green technology, renewable energy. So there might be also institutions that are willing to help you out, no? For example, ang mga bangko, pumupitch ka sa bank, no? So pa hulamon ka nila money, then that kind of idea would always be like open for funding already, no? So even if it's not an idea stage, no? So that's why mag-start ang business, nagit tayo business model, no, business plan. So, and those guys, pag pitch na to sila, mao na akong negosyo, wala pa gani kay prototype gyud, wala pa kay kuano, napa kay rough draft lang gyud nga MVP, nga drawing lang siya. Drawing lang yung MVP, no? So, di pa gyud sa murag design pa lang gyud yung MVP, pero in your own personal experience, kani akong drawing, electronic design, ma-build gid ni siya, no? Ma-build gid ni siya, mahimo gid ni siya, no? So you have all that confidence, no? So ma-build gid ni siya. So you can actually, that's your MVP, and then you can begin pitching about your idea with your MVP, and then listen to people about their feedback as well based on the idea you have. So whether you're looking for support from internal or external investors, an MVP definitely strengthens your position. Now, so as it proves the merit of your product and secure funding for future development. Okay, so there are so many startup ideas that really started out with this, just simply an idea, and then they were able to get initial funding, not necessarily immediately from the banks, not immediately necessarily for angel investors, but they're from family, friends, no, nga sulti sila nga na ako ay business idea, and then I need some initial capital, no, so to even build a prototype, no. So I hope you get that, no. So for example, nahulam kag 100,000 pesos, no, to just simply build your prototype. So So mo ni hitabo, no? So you get that, and then you're able to build your prototype and then test your prototype to the market, and then you were able to learn ang reactions of customers and further improve your product. And then when you have a mura bitog hinog na nga prototype, hinog na nga product, then you might be also be looking for further investments, no? So you can use that, no, as an as a as a initial product that you can pitch to your to those kaning mga investors, no? So actually karon class ang UST they started looking for startups na good. Actually na sila gi pandingan this year, no? So I'll try to share that in my Facebook page later on, no? So there are future. This is a future for startups. I tell you this now because the government is really focusing on this, no? So for you guys, if you really take it by heart, no, and decide later if you want to do business, there is funding. The problem is that you need to be able to demonstrate, no, na kaya gid ninyo ni, no, to build your own startup, to build your own MVP, to build your own product that really people will go after or buy, no. Although it has mentioned earlier that the benefits of the MVP, so these are some of the list, no? So you can test your understanding of whether the product is needed without having to use a huge amount of resources, specifically money, to develop the full product. Second is you can accelerate the team's learning. No? If you're working in a team, teams learning regarding what the customer actually wants, needs, while using rapid iteration to deliver that. So you go fast. No? So startups, because you're lean, because you're a small group, so the expectation is you should be able to be, you should be fast, no? Should be fast. So you can minimize the number of wasted hours spent by your development team by focusing on a minimal number of features for launch. You can go to market faster and thus theoretically start to raise sales revenues faster than if you develop the fully featured final product for launch. You can gain a competitive advantage if other companies are contemplating entering the market you are focusing on. So these are really some of the benefits that we need to understand, you know, in terms of building an MVP. So again, we go back to the design thinking we talk about. No? So we emphasize to the people that suffering the problem. So define the potential solutions now of those pains that the people are facing. We do adjacent because we want to really look for the best solution of those problems defined, no? And then prototype. So when we talk about MVP, basically we are here, no? So we are in this particular process of building our MVP. So that is on the prototype part, okay? And then testing. So we always look in this particular picture, no, in the design thinking, okay? So this is where our focus would be. So again, we have to test. Now, test our assumptions until we're able to really meet the target of and being confident about the prototype we're able to develop. Na the customers will really love the product. Okay, so that's how we know to go through the process. Okay, MVP is an essential part, no, of the design thinking process. So Eric Ries, Daily Rise, Eric Ries said he's the author of the Lean Startup, no, and Lean Startup. Okay, so if you can find a book and also watch a lot of videos about Lean Startup, you can look into this now because this is a very good book as well, highly recommended. And Eric Ries is the author of it, and he said that as you consider building your own minimum viable product, let this simple rule suffice. Now, so remove any feature, process, or effort that does not contribute directly to the learning you seek. Okay, so that's the simple rule that he provided us. Now, so basically, katulad yung pinaka-core functionalities, no, of the core features or core part of the products that you are trying to build. So and then test that. refine, improve. So we do the iteration, no? So we go back to learning this process, no? So we always do this cycle. Okay? So right now, even if you look at those products in the market right now, no, na kanang naa ng mga products sa market today, they're not even finished yet. No, they're not really finished yet. No, so we always like, even in the service of the telco, no, so telco, no, if you look at PLDT and Globe, they're not finished yet. They keep on like advancing the technology that they have. No, so coming from 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, karon about 5G, and billions of pesos are being spent to really continue the service, provide better service. No, so people always seek for better service. No, so that's how they retain their customers as well. So if this Globe Telecom and PLDT stopped at 4G, and then the other competitors are now working on 5G, and then they are now in 6G. And if you think your products already finished at 4G, your services at 4G, then you'll be left behind in the competition. I hope that you get that class, no? So what Globe and PLDT as service entity, they always adapt, no, also. So meaning to say their service as a product is not yet also over, no? So it keeps on improving. So now they're spending a lot of money, like at least 20 billion pesos in terms of upgrading their infrastructure, no? So because they want to provide better service, they want to provide faster internet connection. So they're continuing on this, no? So I think even in big corporations, so Globe and PLDT, like their market capitalization is 200 billion pesos. So this is how big the companies are. So they keep on improving their products and services. So meaning to say there is no such thing as a product that is already completed. So I hope you get that. So okay. The simplest mantra to follow to gain the benefits on MVP is that you are looking to build the simplest product that you can test to see if the product should have been built in the first place. So what if nobody, even if how many times you iterate your product and then dili day wala day ko ano, wala gyud ang imong customer, they don't really like it. Or nobody really wants to buy it. No, so what's the problem now? No? So what's the problem now? No, so that will serve as a decision making for you, even if you're gonna stop it or still evolve your product from it. No, meaning to say pivot, no, pivot. So kinahanglan ba ka mag-pivot, no? So kinahanglan ba ka mangita na lang og lain nga startup idea because it's not working, even how many times you were able to like develop an MVP, launch it in the market, or test it the product to your friends, no, to somebody. So that's a problem, no? So that will help you decide as well, no? So decide to whether move forward or abandon your idea. So look at this photo here, no? So yeah, the concept of value is vital to the MVP strategy. A wheel has no value to a user, but a skateboard does. No, so it's all about transport, not concepts to the users. So basically, what you need is, like for example, a vehicle. No, for you to reach one point to another point. Now, for example, from the city to Ampayon, no, because you want to go to school. No, so what are the available rides for you to go from one place to the other? Of course, there's so many options for you now. No, but what you want to do is like develop your idea. You don't need a wheel. No, so it is mentioned here, a wheel has no value to a user if kung ang user is really, he will not be able to reach the destination. I hope you get that. No, so the wheel can only be valuable if forms part for a skateboard nga will help you get from one point to another. Okay? So, of course, if you look at this figure here in the bottom, even at the level of the skateboard, sad yapon, no? Sad. Why? Because you might go to Ampayon, using a skateboard, it will do its job. No, that's the most important thing. The job there is for you to reach Ampayon by using a skateboard or any types of vehicle. But in terms of desirability, so would people choose to ride in a skateboard rather than in a bicycle to even a car or a passenger vehicle? So the minimum viable product allows you to think na okay, this will somehow give you an idea na yeah, you can move from one point to another. No, but in providing iteration, maybe there could be your skateboard na until such time you're able to develop a bike. Well, that's better than the skateboard, no, using the bicycle. So meaning to say you improve your MVP and then somehow reach to the ideal stage na I think it will be faster to go from point A to point B using a vehicle. All right. So it will not, for example, comparing tricycles or motorcycles comparing to cars or jeepneys. So it's better to have a riding a jeepney because it's safer than tricycle. So things like that. No? So meaning it should be evolving. Now, I want you to watch this video as well because this is a very important aspect of this presentation. So let me share the screen. Asa naman to? Okay, direct ko. So I hope you can hear the sound, no? Wait lang, no? So, all right. So this is it. So I hope guys you can hear this.
A couple of years ago, Henrik Knieberg drew this picture and started using it in various presentations about agile and lean development. Since then, the drawing has gone viral. It shows up all over the place, in articles and presentations, and even in a book by Jeff Patton called User Story Mapping. Many people say that the drawing really captures the essence of iterative and incremental development, lean startup, and MVP thinking. However, some misinterpret it, which is quite natural when you take a picture out of its original context. Some criticize it for oversimplifying things, which is true. The picture is, however, a metaphor. It is not about actual car development. It is about product development in general, using a car as a metaphor. Anyway, with all this buzz, Henrik figured it was time to explain the thinking behind it. So here is an extract from Henrik's blog. First example, not like this. The top row illustrates a common misconception about iterative incremental product development, also known as agile. Many projects fail badly because they do big bang delivery. They build the thing until it's 100% done and deliver it right at the very end. I've lost count of the number of failed projects I've seen because of this. However, when agile is presented as an alternative, people sometimes balk at the idea of delivering an unfinished product. I mean, who wants half a car? Imagine this. Here, sir, here's our first iteration, a front tire. What do you think? Customer will be like, why the heck are you delivering a tire to me? I ordered a car. What am I supposed to do with this? By the way, I'm using the term customer here as a generic term to represent people like product managers, product owners, and even early adopter users. With each delivery, the product gets closer to done, but the customer is still angry because he can't actually use the product. It's still just a partial car. And finally, when the product is done, the customer is like, thanks, finally. Why didn't you just deliver this to me in the first place and skip all the other useless deliveries? In this example, he's happy with the final product because it's exactly what he ordered. In reality, that's usually not true. A lot of time has passed without any actual user testing, so the product is most likely riddled with design flaws and based on incorrect assumptions about what people need. So that smiley face at the end is pretty idealistic. Anyway, the first row represents bastardized agile. Technically, it might be incremental and iterative, but the absence of an actual feedback loop makes it very risky and definitely not agile. Hence, the not like this heading. Second example, like this. Now for the second row. Here we take a very different approach. We start with the same context. The customer ordered a car, but this time we don't just build a car. Instead, we focus on the underlying need the customer wants fulfilled. Turns out that his underlying need is, I need to get from A to B faster, and the car is just one possible solution to that. Remember, the car is just a metaphor. Think of any kind of customized product development scenario. So the team delivers the smallest thing that they can think of that will get the customer testing things and giving feedback. Some might call it an MVP, or a minimum viable product, but I prefer to call it the earliest testable product. You can call it whatever you like. In fact, some people even like to call their first release the skateboard version, and that's based on this metaphor. The customer is unlikely to be happy with this. It's nowhere near the car that he ordered. But that's okay. Here's the kicker. We're not trying to make the customer happy at this point. We might make a few early adopters happy, but our main goal at this point is just to learn. Ideally, the team explains this clearly to the customer in advance so that he isn't too disappointed. However, as opposed to the front wheel in the first scenario, the skateboard is actually a usable product that helps the customer get from A to B. Not great, but a tiny bit better than nothing. So we tell the customer, don't worry, the project isn't finished. This is just the first of many iterations, and we're still aiming to build a car. But in the meantime, please try this and give us as much feedback as possible. Think big, but deliver in small, functionally viable increments. We might learn some really surprising things. Suppose the customer says he hates the skateboard. We ask, why? And he says, I hate the color. We're like, the color? That's all? And the customer says, yeah, make it blue. Other than that, it's fine. So you've just saved a lot of money not building a car. Not likely, but who knows? The key question is, what is the cheapest and fastest way we can start learning? Can we deliver something even earlier than a skateboard? How about a bus ticket? Will this help solve the customer's problem? Maybe, maybe not, but we'll definitely learn something by putting this into the hands of real users. Lean Startup offers a great model based on listing your actual hypotheses about these users and then working systematically to validate or invalidate them. You don't need to test the product on all users, and you don't need to build a product to actually test something. Testing a prototype on even a single user will teach you more than nothing. But okay, back to the skateboard example. After playing around with it in the office, the customer says, okay, this is kind of fun, and it does get me to the coffee machine faster, but it's unstable, and I fall off too easily. So the next iteration, we try to solve that problem, or at least learn more about it. The customer can now get around the office without falling off. Happy? Not really. He still wants that car. But in the meantime, he's actually using this product and giving us even more feedback. His biggest complaint is that it's hard to travel longer distances, like between buildings, due to the small wheels and lack of brakes. So next release, the product morphs into something more like a bicycle. Now, the customer can zoom around campus. Yeehaw! We learn some things along the way. The customer likes the feeling of fresh air on his face. The customer is on a campus, and transportation is mostly about getting around between buildings. The bicycle may turn out to be a much better product than the car that was originally envisioned. In fact, while testing out this product, we may learn that the paths are too narrow for a car anyway. We just saved the customer tons of time and money and gave him a better product in less time. Now you may be thinking, but shouldn't we already have known that via the upfront analysis of the customer's context and needs? Good point. But in most real-life product development scenarios I've seen, no matter how much upfront analysis you do, you're still surprised when you put the first real release into the hands of real users, and many of your assumptions turn out to be way off. So yes, do some upfront analysis, discover as much as you can before starting development, but don't spend too much time on it, and don't trust the analysis too much. Start prototyping and releasing instead. That's when the real learning happens. Anyway, back to the story. Perhaps the customer wants more. Sometimes he needs to travel to another city, and the bike ride is too slow and a bit sweaty. So next iteration, we add an engine. This model is especially suitable for software, since software is, well, soft. You can morph the product as you go, as opposed to hardware, where you essentially have to rebuild every time. However, even in hardware projects, there is a huge benefit to delivering prototypes to observe and learn from how your customer uses your product. It's just that the iterations tend to be a bit longer. Even actual car companies like Tesla and Toyota do a lot of prototyping before developing a new car model. So what now? Again, maybe the customer is happy with the motorcycle. We could end the project earlier than planned. Most products are riddled with complexity and features that nobody uses. The iterative approach is really a way of delivering less or finding the simplest and cheapest way to solve the customer's problem. Minimize the distance to awesome. Very zen. Or again, the customer could choose to continue without modifications. We may, in fact, end up with the exact same car as originally envisioned. However, it is much more likely that we gain vital insights along the way and end up with something slightly different, like this. The customer is overjoyed. Why? Because we learned along the way, and he appreciates fresh air in his face. So we ended up with a convertible. He did get a car after all, but a better car than originally planned. So let's take a step back. What's your skateboard? The top scenario, delivering a front tire, sucks because we keep delivering stuff that the customer can't use at all. If you know what you're doing, your product has very little complexity and risk, perhaps you've built the thing 100 times before, then go ahead and just do a big bang. Build the thing and deliver it when it's done. However, most product development efforts I've seen are much too complex and risky for that. And the big bang approach all too often leads to huge, expensive failures. So the key question is, what's your skateboard? In product development, one of the first things you should do after describing the problem you are trying to solve and whom you're trying to solve it for is to identify your skateboard equivalent. Think of the skateboard as a metaphor for the smallest thing you can put in the hands of real users and get real feedback. Or use bus ticket if that metaphor works better for you. This will give you the vitally needed feedback loop and will give both you and your customer control over the project. You can learn and make changes instead of just following the plan and hoping for the best.
So, all right. So that's a very good video, to understand better about, developing a minimum viable product. So let me go back to our slide. So, so he advises us, to really build the prototype and test it immediately. So here's some examples of an MVP, because the one we shown you the video, it's about the metaphor, in terms of providing like testing the product, so testing the product to the customers from the skateboard that he doesn't like, the customer doesn't like it red, better than blue. The question there, what if other customers would love it pink or red? So how do you manage that? So metaphorically, so but then the idea was to really move, from a product that customers at the start will will not really like it, but the objective is to learn from it, to learn from the customer perspective until such time that we know what kind of product that the customers will be happy about. So in the MVP, the most important thing again to emphasize is to continue on learning. No, so learning what the customers really want, what the customers really need, no, and what the customers, what will make the customers happy. Okay, so these are some of the examples of big companies right now or startups that started it also. No, so for example, the Airbnb. So kabalo na mo Airbnb? Unsa nang Airbnb? Do you know Airbnb? Class? Do you know what is Airbnb? Yeah, are you here pa? Do you know what is an Airbnb?
Wala, sir. Wala.
Wala pa Airbnb. So they revolutionized, no? So revolutionized gid ang term because before, if you go to, like for example, if you will travel, no, mo kag Manila or mo kag kanang, for example, big cities in the US, in Europe, no, so you need hotels, right? And to do that before, your options are to directly call or email the hotels for you to book, no, yung the hotel. And then the problem is that ang problema is ang hotels are very expensive, no? And then all you want to do is like find a cheaper alternative, no? And then what Airbnb was able to do is that they were able to arrange kanabi itong mga balay-balay, your home, if you have available space nga pwede siya i-rent out. No? So ano yan game mo, no? So if you have a room or a house nga you're not using it, instead of renting it for a month, no, allow people to rent it for a month, pwede nimo siyang iparent nimo siya nga on a daily basis, no, because you will earn more money, no, for example if you're a house owner. But Airbnb as a platform, they were able to do that, no, make arrangements with the owners and allow it to like allow them to rent the space, rent the room, rent the house, rent an apartment for you to stay there for some few days to a week or a month, no? So at a rate nga unsa to? At a rate nga cheaper than the hotels, no? So at a rate nga cheaper than hotels. So insay gibuhat sa Airbnb. So with no money to build a business, the founders of Airbnb used their own apartment to validate the idea to create a market offering short-term, peer-to-peer rental housing online. So what they did was really create lang a minimalist website, no? So publish photos about and other details about the property, the room, the house. And they found out based on testing that there were really some people, several paying guests, no, almost immediately took that advantage of that. Now, for example, if you go to New York City, if you go to New York, Los Angeles, there are so many hotels, but they are expensive. No? So what they were able to do is that Airbnb develop a website and then connect the owners of the apartments to lend their apartments cheaper than the hotels. So when they were able to do that and they were able to promote Airbnb, so a lot of those people traveling on those cities, big cities, they were able to really capture, you know, the attention of those people, and then they were able to like test that na naagid ay takers, no? So naagid ay there's really a need, no, for this for this kind of service offering. So they were able to test it, and then they were able to continue developing it in that particular city. No, so they started out in one city, and then later on they were able to identify, yeah, there is indeed a value for this for people, and so they were able to expand. No, so in the US, and then what happened next is that they went to scale up. No, scale up sila. as a startup, they were able to scale up to other major cities in the globe, in the world. So not only in one particular city now, but also so they were able to capture that, and now they become a multi-billion-dollar US company. So they started out as a small, started small. Okay. So even the Amazon, so Amazon, I think you're familiar with Amazon. So they began as an online bookstore, so si Jeff Bezos, mao na yung una, so what Jeff Bezos did before was to buy books from distributors and ship them to customers every time nga na siya order sa iyang online store. So ang iyang MVP, minimum viable product, he also developed a website nga people can go to sa landing website nga they can look for books available there, and then so they were able to like select books there, and then pag na-purchase, so buhat ni Jeff sa una, so mupalit sa libro, iya po na yung i-ship. So basically ingon ana, so wala siya nag-build og inventory nga kanabi daw namalit sa daghan libro, unya iya ang unsay daghan kay libro mao po yung display. So what he did was, para cost effective, saka ra niya paliton ang product kung naanay mo order, so meaning to say that, so wala siya initial dako kay nga capitalization. You get that? So ingon ana ang buhat. So actually class, mao po na ang sa Lazada. When they started in Lazada in Singapore, ingon ana po dyan, nagimo lang sa website, and then so of course Amazon already dili lang libro, but then they expanded on so many things. Everything you can now find in Amazon, di ba? So nga na po sa Lazada. So iniisip mo pa lang sa Lazada na yan. So Lazada started also in that same way, so they did not like buy a lot of TVs and then sell it immediately online, so nagimo lang sila website nga they mura kung ako karon na ako yung Samsung nga TV nga nakita sa website, ako i-post unya when people order it, so saka pa niya paliton po sa Samsung, and then i-ship ang TV, yung na po dyan. So that's how minimum viable product works, so they built a website, a landing page, and then people go there, and then that's how they tested their idea. Kung naabagay yung mga tao or naabagay customers nga who are willing to buy the products online. All right? So ingon na siya, So even Facebook, if you remember Facebook, the Facebook page today is not the same Facebook page before. So if you see this is I think I watched already the movie, about that one movie, the movie, I forgot. So about the Facebook page before, so yung nga siya, so basic. Okay, somebody mentioned, so all right, the social network. Thank you, Harvey. So ingon ang Facebook nga page before. So basic lang kayo, dili pa gid siya ingon nga nindot, but ang core functionality, ang job nga gusto niya trabaho, nahimo niya ang job, ang job. Unsa ang job ani? He was able to like allow people to really connect one another in Harvard. Within Harvard, they were able to connect one another. So they started small. So mo na to ginaingon nga, start small, dream big, but start small. So even Mark Zuckerberg saw potential of this later on, then he saw nga naa day business with, of course, na yung mga influences niya, but the product itself started very, very parang ang functionality lang gid, so di pa gid kayo nga nindot gid dyan, so even the draft of this, so meaning to say we started there. If people gonna love it, use it, and then that's it, so similar to YouTube, so similar to the startup na YouTube. Of course, we're talking about ICT examples here now, but then it's also similar. So by principle, if you develop a product design, electronics product, so this guy, so Mark Zuckerberg, following his story, he did not even graduate, because wala na i-abandon niya yung course, because he found a potential business, so as a start, they were trying to make or develop a cool kanang page lang, Facebook page, the Facebook. So they were trying to build that, and then people really got interested. And then if you follow the movie, so what happens there? So a lot of people really like went into the website because murag sensational kayo siya. So people really like update themselves, everything. So nakita nila nga there is really an area for this. So that's how Facebook grow now na ingon ani na siya. And then the product in itself, it's not yet even finished today. No, so if you see Facebook now, it's not even the finished product or the finished version. So they started here, and then now they have the Facebook Marketplace, di ba? Marketplace where people can now like sell online products, no? So gihimo nilang ingon ana pod. So ilang business model gi-add na pod nila ingon ana, no? So meaning to say they keep on testing. They build and test it, build and test, learn. So they go through the iterative process as well. So there are instances also in Facebook na yung mga reklamo sa customers. And every time nga na yung mga reklamo sa customers, of course, as a founder of the company, they also adapt, no? They also adapt, meaning to say they also change, no? Because people doesn't like it, users doesn't like it. Itong mga privacy settings ng mga reklamo sa una, so they change it, no? So to appease the customers, right? So again, we will not be able to do business if customers won't love our product. No, what if there will be a competition later on by Facebook? So people will transfer. No, for example, Instagram. So mo na gipalit sa Facebook and Instagram because a lot of people are there also. No, so parehara na sa Jollibee, nga gipamalit po ng Mang Inasal, gipamalit ng Chowking, para meaning to say they control the competition. No? So they remain. So Pilipinas, Facebook is still the no, and then Instagram for siguro may different age levels. No? So the young, you guys, the millennials, often use Instagram rather than Facebook. Okay. So among you here, guys, na may 24 kabok, just a survey lang. Sa karon, where do you often, what kind of networking site do you use? Is that Instagram or Facebook? Do you still use Facebook? Just a survey. Facebook or Instagram? Okay, there are 24 of you guys. I need 20 at least. Facebook or Instagram? Can you chat? Okay, Facebook or Instagram? Okay. What is your preference? All right, so there is even TikTok, no? So, okay, so Facebook. So Twitter, okay. So both Facebook and Instagram. Of course, kung asa pwede, no? So na Instagram, na Twitter, na Facebook. I think the preference kung sa may inyo hangkuan, Facebook pagyapon. Okay? Abi na kog ako na lang nabilin sa Facebook, no? So at least na mo Facebook pagyapon. Okay, Facebook. So there are people, I have my own Instagram. Wala ra po Instagram, but then I think most of the people are in the Facebook, so it's easier to connect, no, in Facebook. So this kind of services offerings, wala pa ni siya nahuman, no? So Wendell Instagram said so. These products continue to evolve, no, because they would want to always introduce, but ang atong gistoryahan dire ang MVP man, no? So the core functionalities. So tungod kay naa na siya nga core functionality, so you tested that and it's okay, and then we improve the product, no, as we go on. So again, from the videos we heard earlier, so we must be able to build, no, the MVP, and then test it, learn from it, and then improve our product, no, until such time that the customers will be happy about our service offering. Okay. So I think this is more of a example pagid, no? Any questions so far? Guys, questions? Do you have question or clarifications? Are we okay? Okay. Are we okay, guys? Okay. Alright. So, napo ko isa ka video yung ipakita, ano? To strengthen our, ano? I hope you can hear this.
No money to bring it to life.
Oh, wait.
What happens when you have that $1 million idea, but no money to bring it to life? Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Not really, there's so much you can do to kick off your business without spending any money. It's your boy Stoyan, and in today's video we're going to discuss how many billion-dollar companies got started without any initial investment, and so can yours. And the secret to all of this is producing a minimum viable product, also known as MVP, which will allow you to test your idea in a real-life setting with actual customers. Let's throw that intro. At this point, you're selling the vision and delivering the minimum features that will trigger these visionaries to react. You want to get their feedback, their likes, their love. Remember, you are not selling to everyone, and you definitely don't need to please everyone. But how to provoke these early adopters to react before even creating the product? I'm going to share with you the tools that you need in order to realize your MVP. In this video, we will be covering how you can adopt the explainer video, the Wizard of Oz MVP, the landing page, the concierge MVP, as well as crowdfunding as powerful tools that will help you to validate your product or service assumptions. Now that we have picked up these tools, let's go ahead with checking how they can be applied. You can see fragments of the video Dropbox used when they first wanted to test whether people would be interested in their product. It is important to note that the video was created before the actual file hosting service was developed. Drew Houston, the CEO and co-founder of Dropbox, did not spend any money on developing the product prior to validating the demand. We can argue that the video itself was also minimalistic and definitely cheap. Despite that, it was very effective. Thousands of people added their email addresses to the company's database so that they could be notified once the product became available. The use of the explainer video was fundamental for the success of the company. We can say that the MVP is what powered Dropbox's fast success and allowed the company to skyrocket. The next MVP tool is the so-called landing page. And no, it's not the place where skydivers land. A landing page is a page on your website that is designed to convert visitors into leads. Joel from Buffer used the power of the landing page to kickstart his software application business. Buffer allows you to schedule posts to be sent to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. It's a great way for individuals to engage with their community. However, at first, Joel had no idea whether people would be interested. That's why he built a landing page, which he then used as a learning tool. The landing page allowed him to collect visitors' emails before the software application was even started. Quite similar to Dropbox, right? However, he did a lot more by splitting visitors' traffic into different versions of the website page. This allowed him to experiment with the pricing strategy, as well as the design of the website, finding the most effective ones, which converted most visitors into paying customers. This is something known as A/B testing. Only after doing all this, Joel opened his company and became ready for business. The next strategy is a very wizardly one. The idea behind it is simple. Fake it before you make it. Pretend that your business is almost fully automated, while behind the curtain, you are doing everything manually. The best example of a company that did exactly this is the online shoe retailer Zappos. Zappos was one of the first companies to ever start selling shoes online. Traditional shoe stores were not interested in moving online. as the general notion was that customers want to try the shoes on before they buy. The founder of Zappos put this assumption to the test. He took photos of shoes from a local shoe store, then he posted them online, and whenever a sale was made, he would go to that shop and buy the specific pair of shoes. It was genius. It was so genius that it should have been illegal. We can call the founder of Zappos as the gangster of shoes. Later, the company was acquired by Amazon for the cool $1.2 billion. Similarly to the Wizard of Oz MVP, the concierge MVP strategy involves huge amounts of legwork at the beginning. This of course reduces the inventory, the startup costs, as well as the risk. And it also is a great source of data. However, here we let our customers know that nothing is automated. Quite the opposite. You would be doing concierge service for them, tailored for their needs and desires. Perhaps this may be the preferred strategy for people of a certain demographic, perhaps elderly individuals who prefer the personal interaction with the service provider. This was the preferred MVP strategy for the co-founder of the website Food on the Table. Food on the Table provides easy weekly recipe and grocery lists based on sales at your local store. They need lots of stuff to make this work. A list of stores and groceries, weekly updates on sales, recipes, algorithms to match the preference to recipes to promotions, etc. It's a lot of work. But the founders did not start by building all these assets. Before building anything, the two founders went to their local shop in Austin, Texas. They interviewed shoppers until they found one that was interested in their service. She got a concierge treatment. The CEO visited her every week. He came with a shopping list and selected recipes carefully chosen based on her preference and the promotions at the local store. The list was updated on the spot based on her desires and feedback. Most importantly, the CEO would pick a check of $9.95 for this service. This was no way of getting rich. But each week, they would learn more about what it takes to make their product a success. They kept adding more customers to their weekly visits until they couldn't handle it anymore. Only then they started coding. One week they started sending lists and recipes by email, and on the next week they would write a piece of software or something else. Another MVP strategy is the crowdfunding. Crowdfunding platforms are a great way to test the key benefits and features that people would pay for. Plus, you get hopefully actively involved early adopters. So instead of getting funding from a small number of traditional investors, you can harness the collective spirit of the masses and get their moral and financial support. Some crowdfunding platforms have vast audiences. Joining in and testing your product or service via crowdfunding platform is almost like stepping on the stage of a rock concert and having thousands of eyes on you. No more excuses that you didn't have the money to kick off your business. If it worked for all of these companies, it will surely work for your business as well. Get your MVP in order and kick off. Get some very valuable feedback from your customers, and depending on that feedback, you can decide whether you should pivot and change your business a little bit or persevere. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did, and peace out.
All right. So those are very good. Okay, I am muted now. So those are really good videos now to help us strengthen our knowledge in terms of the MVP. And from the video in itself, so they mentioned about crowdfunding. No, so this is a very good alternate, no, in terms of validating also your MVP crowdfunding. So there are so many crowdfunding sites now that you can test your product. Okay, so for ECE, for product development, other than the websites or other than the other than the websites, if you're into producing mechanical devices, so the best in the US, no, the best place to really test your products is to go for a crowdfunding through the Kickstarter. No? So let me share. No? So for example, Kickstarter here. I hope you can see my screen. No? So if you have a product that you want to really, you have a good design product, and then you want to test the market. No? If there are people gonna buy or gonna like your product. So Kickstarter is one of the best websites or platform that you can go to and test your product if people is would love to get your product, no. So kaning nga mga Kickstarter, even if wala pa ganin na build gid ang kuan, wala pa gid na build ang product, it's just a design, so good pa lang sa design, no. So there are so many people already na they display their products here, and then if you look at here, no, so display their product, and then there's so many people even at the start, they would always like they want to also pledge na or buy in advance. So this is a good way to validate the product if there will be people who will buy. For example, this one. So I just opened this website right now, no? So Chicken Stone. So if you look at this video, then you'll know better about Chicken Stone. No? So what is Chicken Stone? And then if you look at this page here, is this figure here. So maybe for over a month, no, so they tried to get as many as customers. So the number of backers now is around 551, meaning to say there are 551 people who's willing to buy this early stage product. No, so and then their pledge right now is 62,835, meaning to say they're trying to get money in advance, no, to finance the development of their product, and their goal is actually only $6,500. But that what they get was, now the pledges is around 62,835. So now na sila customer in advance, even if the product in itself is not yet fully like na mass produced. No? So they're just trying to build it first. No? So meaning to say their idea is kind of validated already. No? So Chicken Stone here is a roast a whole bird in half the time, dial up the flavor and moisture. So that's their product. So if you look into this, you can start
After
there,
too much time apart.
So what these startup founders do is that develop a very good video, no, to feature their product. So this is not a website. This is really an actual product, and you look at here, there are already 551 potential or really backers. No, they really pledge, no, because you can like click this one, back this project, and then proceed on. Well, commit yourself, no, to like for example, pay it in advance. So meaning to say, if you click pledge 56, so you will be asked with your credit card already, no, kanang maka dapat mo pa naka, no, murag mo bayad naka in advance. So I cannot proceed because I was not logged in maybe, no. So meaning to say you'll be paying in advance, no. So that's a very good way of validating your product, because you're sure now that there is a potential market. So there is a potential market. So there are even there are so many popular, there's so many good examples also that that went beyond expectation in terms of getting a crowdfunding fund. So if you want to explore more, so you can actually like go to this website and be inspired. No, be inspired of, like for example, what kind of products that they went beyond, no, to the target na mga target nila nga mga amount, no? So there's so many products made available here. So as an engineering, so for example this one, so they're trying to raise $66,000 US, but right now the pledges is only 10,000 pa, but they have 32 days to go for source funding. So these are power meters, no, electronics, and yeah, so these are devices, no, devices related. Okay, so the examples we showed earlier are more on the websites, right? The Facebook, the Airbnb, No, so those are FB pages, no, websites. But here in Kickstarter, these are really devices, no, that they're trying to check and validate if there is a potential market for the products. So these are really good. This is a really good website not to go to. So there's even what is this? Calamity World Beer. So there are like cycling, no? So you can go here, no? So Kickstarter to check if. So for example here, ang ilang goal is 20,000 US dollars lang, and then now they get 256,000. So 10 million pesos, no? So this money will be used, no, to really like mass produce it. So meaning to say they spend a little amount of money, no, to start with their idea. So I hope you get this. All right. So stop share, and then we have 2 minutes left. So basically sa tuang PowerPoint presentation, there is just some announcement, no? So I'm gonna discuss about how to pitch your ideas on Monday, no? So I will be meeting you on Monday. We will have a pitching event, no, on June 30, 2021. Ang agreement is for the Technopreneurship 101 students, group of students to showcase, no, their business idea. And this June 30 is for the select, no, meaning to say select groups as only coming from the different T101 classes. That means, class, that for your section, we will be selecting 5 teams, no, to represent during this pitching event in June 30. So only 5 teams will be selected, and then okay. So before I answer that, Ansel, no, so just an announcement, no. So this is the target date for the pitching event. So before this week, we'll be having our own pitching event. No? So meaning to say from, for example, on June 21 and 24, all the teams here will have to pitch their business ideas. No? So I will also discuss on Monday unsay i-pitch, unsay dapat i-pitch, no, ang pitch slide, pitch deck. No? So katong gihimo ninyong assignment, paki-email na lang ko, pa-submit sa email, no, katong example lang tong katong value proposition, no, nga pitch deck, paki-email ko atong inyong gi-assignment, no. So pa-email lang ko sa ako ang email address. Now, class, so what we would look into in the pitching is I'll share my other PowerPoint presentation. So it's 10:30 na. So I have a class on pitching now, what to pitch. So it's not here. So I'm supposed to discuss pitching on Monday, no, so that you'll know what kind of materials you need to pitch. Okay. So it's not here. Stop event. Okay, it's 10:30. So please email all the assignments. So I hope the team leaders of each group are here. No, so we will begin discussing what will be the pitch template. Of course, the content of that would be the atong gipang itong gipang discuss nato related to what we discussed so far. So kana nga atong i-present, no. So allow me to first. So for example, this is one example now of a pitch deck. So there's only like 10 pages long, but because the pitching would be around 5 minutes lang, no? So you have a problem. So I'll be sending this also. So this is just an example, no? So yeah. So this is pitching for a grant, no, government grant. Okay. So we'll be talking about pitching, no, so on Monday. So I will schedule it in advance so that we will have to discuss it. Prepare yourselves to pitch your business idea. So that is other than the value proposition on pitch deck. All right. So do you have other questions? Do you have questions? before I let you go? Guys? Do you have questions? Huh? Okay, so kung wala na, then I think you're not there. So hopefully you're still there. Now, so if you don't have any question, then yeah, so we have to end this now because maybe you have classes pa. All right. So thank you guys for joining this class this morning. I'll see you on Monday, no, to discuss the pitch deck. No, so hopefully, yeah. So we'll discuss the pitch deck, no, about the pitching. Okay. So with that, bye bye for now. Goodbye. Thank you, guys. Yes, by group tong kuan, by group tong yeah, by group tong kuan submissions. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're
Thank you,
welcome
sir.
also. Okay. You're welcome. Bye, guys. Yes, you're welcome, Diana. Bye-bye. God bless everyone.